short video. I call it Mouths Soon to Be Stopped. You have a lot of people, most of them are Caucasian. They hate, and I mean literally hate, the fact that history proves that we are the Israelites. We have had a history like no one in the world has had, and our history mirrors that of the Bible. The Bible Israelites who were in captivity in Egypt and who the Most High said would go back into Egypt by ships. Egypt meaning bondage, meaning slavery. They get on this page and they call you everything from a cult. One idiot, and I do mean an idiot, said that we're like the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, we're racist, and I'm sure he's Caucasian, but he's running off religions, doctrines, and teachings that were created by his people. Doctrines and teachings that were created by the same people that created Christianity. Being a Hebrew Israelite is our blood. It's not a cult. It's our blood. Those of us who understand who we are, we're not black. We don't call ourselves black. Black is a legal term. Black is a term. Most of you Caucasians don't know what black means. You don't know what white means. But you're on here ranting and raving instead of setting up a page and creating videos that have information that convinces the people who follow you that they're in the truth. You see, here's why I can tell you guys, you're outside of the will of God. Because you're doing something that Yahweh Shai, Jesus, never did. Jesus never followed anyone and persecuted them for their beliefs. This man, Yerash Shalom, has made a video that it's not incriminating you. The video is speaking concerning the laws and the Sabbaths. And as a matter of fact, on this particular video that most of you are jumping on here and persecuting people on, this particular video is talking about Jesus and the Pharisees and how the Pharisees were legalistic, and he is saying that the laws were not meant to bind people up, to restrict people up. You know, here's why I can tell you so-called Christians, you're not in the will of God, because to you the law is bondage, it's restriction, and you ignore the Master's words. If you love me, keep my commandments. If you love me, keep my commandments. If you love me, keep my commandments. Now, I'm not going to spend much time talking to you because you're like roaches. Some of you, a person can block you and you'll create another profile. You're not in the will of God. You're just on here to argue, and the funny thing, the hilarious thing about you, when your calamity hits, none of your pointless arguments that you can't fortify with any historical, biblical truth. None of your pointless arguments are going to matter. See, you have to jump on a page. Most of you don't even know what he's saying. You hear Sabbath and you hear commandments and you go on a Hebrew Israelite witch hunt. Now, for your information, I never called myself a black Hebrew Israelite. And in case you haven't noticed, you people are the most racist people in the whole world. Because you can't stand it when the people who were once your slaves start standing up and honoring and worshiping their God. And you know, we're not even saying anything to you. Why don't you be like Jesus? Let the blind lead the blind and leave us alone. Because all we're doing is returning to the covenant that we know in our hearts we have to return to. If you are following your Jesus, then follow him and be like him. Because every time you get on this page and judge and criticize one of us for things we're not even saying to you, no one invited you here to say anything. Every time you get on this page, every time you criticize someone who is talking to his people about God, about our Messiah, our Elohim, every time you ignore the historical facts and the current day facts that the people of God are still scattered, waiting to return to their land, you prove that if Jesus were here, you would fight him. Because he never created your religion. And you should look in the mirror and see how your religion has you on this thread, this line, criticizing people who are not in your world. None of us are coming to you. None of us are trying to get you to do anything. And further proof that you are liars, hypocrites, and racists is as long as we were saying we were Christians being ruled over by white evangelists and a system that is connected to the Catholic Church that most of you don't even know about. But as long as we were content to be slave Christians, having had the Bible taught to us, even though it was written by our ancestors, having had the Bible taught to us by slave masters, by men who beat the Hebrew Israelites and whipped them and even lynched and killed them for preaching anything other than turn the other cheek. Servants, obey your masters. As long as we were under that, you didn't have any problem. Now, I'm not going to even spend any time, no more time, saying I know who you are and what you are. It's a waste of time. But I'll say this. You people are Democrats and Republicans. You're Americans. And there is no room for you in the kingdom. The kingdom is for the children of Israel and all who will come under the salvation that is of the Jews, as Christ said. And for your information, Jews are not pale-skinned people with no tribe that they couldn't connect to, Khazars, living in Beverly Hills and all the rich places of the earth, New Jersey, Brooklyn, controlling the music industry, controlling the synagogues of Satan. You people are so blind. Those are not the Jews. Those are Khazars. Those are the satanic worshipers of the Talmud. And guess what? Their mouths are going to be stopped. And I'm going to say this. Every one of you that is persecuting Israel with your mouth is going to be stopped. Read Isaiah 54:17. Isaiah is talking to Israel, the servants of the Lord. He's not talking to Christians. He didn't even know what the hell a Christian was. They didn't even exist. Now the spirit that controls Christianity was in the making. You're going to be haunted by your own hatred. In case you didn't know it, Hebrew Israelites don't hate you. And if you really listen to what we're saying, we're not even talking to you. But that thing that has you unable to shut your mouth and follow your God the way Jesus instructed our ancestors to do, those 12 apostles, they were Israelites. That spirit that has you unable to mimic, to follow, to emulate, and to obey the Christ that you say you are an example of, that is going to eat you up. We may never meet. As a matter of fact, I have no desire to meet you. I loathe your ignorant comments on this page, your judgmental, critical, and you started the judgment and criticism, and don't you forget it. You did what the Most High said through our Messiah, Yahushua, who you call Jesus. You did what he said don't do. You pointed your finger in judgment without seeing the beam in your eye, because no one is judging you on this video. You guys are here making a mess of yourself, and it's pointless talking to you because the spirit that is controlling you is so mesmerized by Christianity that you think that you're saved in Israel. Is not. So every mouth is going to be stopped, and everyone is going to be held for every idle word. I realize that saying anything else to you is idle. So I'm going to post this video, then I'm going to repent. And I promise you, you'll never hear anything from me again. But you're going to have a hard time silencing that voice on the inside of you that has you persecuting, criticizing, and according to Romans, boasting against the branches, the Israelites. We are Israelites, and we thank God for it. And in case you want to call us racist, look at the Bible, how Jesus treated everyone except for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Look in the Old Testament and the New, and you will find that even the Gentiles that had returned to the covenant were Israelites who were cut off and who were in Gentile nations, just like us in America. You know what? You can have America, you can have your Christian church, and you can have everything. We don't want it. Why does it bother you so much that we don't want it? And don't say it's because you love us, because if you did, you wouldn't talk to us the way you do. You would talk to us the way your Jesus did. He had compassion for everyone, even though he did not come for everyone. He had compassion, and the only people that he would turn away is the people who were beating, condemning, and stealing from his children, and were calling themselves self-righteous. You want to link us with the Pharisees because we simply want to keep his commandments, but you have not gone through what we have gone through. You were never prophesied that you would be slaves and scattered all over the world through the centuries, and it's been thousands of years for us. And you have no sensitivity, no compassion, and no understanding, and you certainly don't understand the grace of God. Because the grace of God is most demonstrated in how he, through the centuries, has said, I am married to the backslider and I am married to Israel. Your insecurity, your jealousy, and your fear, and your religious pride won't let you leave us alone. If we're blind and about to fall into the ditch, let us fall. But if, as we know, we are not blind, and we are his chosen people, not created by any man, not created by the Catholic Church like Emperor Constantine, your Christianity, created by God. And we will rise, in spite of what you say, and when we rise, you will see our Messiah pleased. He's not pleased with how we are. And for you, a white person, or a so-called white person, calling me racist, I got one thing to say to you. And by this statement, you'll see I'm not legalistic and I'm not under the law at all. Go fuck yourself, you heathen. My ancestors would have cut your head off. David, Solomon, Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Elijah, Elisha, Samuel. That's the line we come from, you heathens. Hate the fact. And let me add, history proves that we are the Israelites. Jesus, whom you worship, or you say you worship, or you think you worship, he doesn't look like you. And he doesn't appreciate you talking about his kin. You see, I am Judean. Yeah, I know. You hate it. There's a demon in you that gets all stirred up and gets all angry and starts quoting passages out of context and in ignorance. You hate it. I am from the tribe of Judah. And the hatred in you is eating you up, and you're trying to project it on us. So I just thought I would let you know, so you won't be able to say, when it comes to roost on your ass, that you never heard. The Messiah is not your kind. He doesn't have your flesh, and he doesn't have your spirit. He doesn't hate his own flesh. Read Isaiah. He loves his people. He is the one who will come and set the record straight, and you will have to submit because you come from a line of people who had murdered and enslaved. And it's your time to go into captivity, and it's the time for some of you to be killed. In a climate where our people are being shot and murdered, some of us killing ourselves, but most of us are being killed by the officials who are supposed to be protecting us. Well, they weren't really created to protect us, but that's another story. You do your history and research and find out what the police were created for. You people are so blind, and your ignorance and your pride makes it hard for anyone to feel sorry for you. We spent our lives feeding you Our ancestors worked for you, you ungrateful bastards. And you have lynched us and hung us on trees. And that's the spirit that you're speaking from now. And you think you're speaking from the Spirit of God. You are a liar. You're speaking from the same hatred. As a matter of fact, you probably have direct relatives that hung my ancestors on trees, and God does not forgive them. That's why Christianity is such a crock of doo-doo, because it's fooling you guys into thinking it is all right that your ancestors, the worst, most insecure, crazy people in all the planet, hate Israel. But Jesus forgives them and loves them and dies for them. He did not. And if you continue to persecute Israel with your mouth out of ignorance just because you're mad, you have not studied and researched most of what you're saying, because I read your comments, and a lot of you don't know who you're talking to. Most of us with gray beards, thin hair, we're beyond you in age. We have children probably your age. And most of us are headed towards 70. But we don't act like you, we don't look like you, and we don't think like you. We think like our Messiah. He knew who he was, and he knows who we are. And we don't have time to tell you who you are. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't even hear from us if you didn't jump on this page. But you think about yourself, you miserable thing. Think about how much it hates you that the men who were once your ancestors' slaves are independently saying, without your permission and without any concern whether you believe it or like it or not, we are independently saying, we know who we are. We have a destiny with reward for all that we have gone through the centuries. Our ancestors' blood was spilled working from sun up to sundown, making your ancestors rich. And whether your ancestors, their people are taking care of you or not, because of the wealth that we earned for you, that's not our problem. Now, I suggest you stick to following Jesus and you act like him. But you remember, every time you get on this page and say anything about a people who are only making their determined decision to return to their God, I promise you, you are digging your grave with your mouth, and you will be held for every idle word. So I added this excerpt to the video to include in that line of people who are my ancestors, who would have had your head. You did not come into camp talking the way you talk now, and you better thank God that most of our people are still trying to figure out who we are, and there is a measure of grace on the earth. You better thank God, because your speech is inflammatory against Israel, and it's inflammatory against God, and that has never changed. But time is up for us thinking that you are anything of relevance or significance, and time is up for you ruling the world with your dogmatic Christian doctrine that you fed to everybody. We don't give this to you. It's not for you. The Messiah is my blood kin through the centuries.